Hello and welcome to Marketing Engineered episode number 6. Now, this is a very exciting episode because today we are just not having a conversation, we are going to debate. Well, but before we get into the episode, I want to just take time to thank all our listeners on the live, the attendees who are joining us live today, as well as people who go and listen to the recorded version later. So, thank you for taking the time. And if you remember the last episode, we were talking about marketing funnels from marketing operations viewpoint. In the episode, we also said about different levels of the funnel, that is the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. And we also discussed about how marketing operations can help the prospect to move from in different stages and then finally convert as a customer. But what happens if the business is so very new that it doesn't have the database? What happens when the business is expanding into different geographies and they do not have the access to the market data yet? And perhaps it's a business which is starting a new line of business and they want to understand that market and reach out to people in that particular segment. In this case, a very easy way to reach and attract new people to your product or services is emailing, or the word of cold emailing. So we ended the episode there, and today we are going to deep dive into the world of cold emails. And before we get into that, we think that we should have a context set because there were some preliminary questions we got in terms of email marketing and cold emails. So there is a little confusion there, and I'll have Ankita to come in and share, why it is different or what is the similarity between cold email and email marketing.
Thanks, Surbhi. Yes, cold email marketing. People often substitute one for the other.
Yeah.
And generally, I've seen a lot of small businesses, business owners, freelancers do that. So I just want to point out that yes, while both use email marketing and cold email refer to different things. They're different. They're different in terms of strategy. They're different in terms of execution. When typically people go to the internet, they read reports. Even in 2024, I've read a survey report which says email channel gives ROI to the ratio 1 is to 40. So for every dollar spent, you get 40 back as ROI. This sounds very impressive, right? But when you deep dive into it, this ROI applies to email as a channel across the life cycle of a customer. So we talked about it last time. So top of the funnel, from awareness to once they convert, and then you have opportunities to upsell and cross sell, get referrals from them. All of that together across their lifetime will give you that kind of return, and it's an excellent return, no doubt about it. But people look at that and think, oh, that email, cold email is going to give me that kind of revenue, let me just go and do cold email. It's not like that. The distinction between email marketing and cold email is very simply, email marketing is when people have subscribed to you. They want to listen to what you have to say over email. It could be by newsletters, it could be because they're existing clients and they want to see communication. They've subscribed for your product updates, service updates, they've subscribed to know when you have events. Maybe they've downloaded some resources and they want you to share more publications with them. So that really is email marketing. These are typical tactics people use for list building, and they reach out to this audience again and again. These are people who know you, they know your brand. There is some sort of a relationship, some sort of a trust. There's awareness. Whereas cold email or cold outreach is when you're reaching out to somebody completely new. They may or may not have heard of your brand. They may or may not be aware of your existence, but you're just taking that first step in reaching out to them and establishing contact. So if it's like you go to a party or you go to a networking event, and you see a bunch of friends, a bunch of colleagues there, walk up to them, chat with them. That's email marketing. But you see somebody who you know, admire, or somebody says, hey, this person, they are so and so. They do so and so work at so and so organization. And you just walk up to them, introduce yourself. That's cold outreach. Now, in person, people are generally polite. They're not rude. They will not ignore you. They won't walk away from the conversation as soon as you start. But on cold email, it is very much possible that the person may just ignore, not open, not respond. Whereas for cold email, your friends, they will definitely respond to you. They may or may not like you, but they'll talk to you. There'll be some sort of engagement there happening. So that's essentially the difference. They solve different purpose in a business. They have their own place in the business, but we just thought that we should distinguish. Email marketing is more of a marketing tool, top of the line to, bottom. It can be used at any stage of a customer's life cycle, whereas cold email is a sales and marketing tool, and it's generally used to establish contact. So that's pretty clear, but Survi,
Yeah.
why are we debating today? Why do
We
we
are
say
debating because I think one of the most exciting conversations we have had over the past 2-3 months is about cold emailing and how very simply small business owners, medium-sized business owners, they have been falling repeatedly in our conversations and our interactions with them. We have seen so many people falling into the trap of doing cold emailing without understanding how it really works. And so between me and Ankita, we are like, I am totally against, and I'm going to actually say why I'm against cold emailing, and she is going to then counter me. So let's hit it, yeah. So the first and the foremost thing I find is it has absolutely low response rate. When I say low response rate is when you're sending an email out, you're expecting response that people will click on the call to action button given there, or they will open the email in the first place. And it has absolutely a low response rate in that. I mean, historically, if you see, it has been consistently dropping, and today the response rate or the open rate itself is less than 1% when you send emails out. And in terms of getting to open them, and in terms of clicking or responding, is even abysmal. I mean, it's just not measurable. It is so low when you are just sending out cold emails as a part of your marketing mix. The second I find is risking your reputation, because how many times you and me receive cold emails and we are just like either marking them spam, and email providers like Google and others make it so easy to just select that email subject line and mark it spam immediately, even without opening it. So you get spammed, and that communicates then to the servers to saying that you are the one who are sending so much spam out, which you are not. Your domain is not sending out spam, you're just trying to reach out. But there's a huge risk associated with spam labeling, and then which also further goes into compliance issue. There's the, we all know about CAN spam, or GDPR rules and regulation, that you need to have the person agreed to be reached out to, right? So this is like the much further stage when you're repeatedly doing it. But I think the the biggest argument I feel is it's absolutely low response rate for the kind of marketing dollar that you are investing in it. Also, this leads to the fact that for a small business, it can get very costly, because the small business has always limited amount of resources, less number of people, but they want the leads. They want the right number of leads or right type of a lead. And a cold email is like a very long-winded way of actually reaching out to the right target audience. So you lose a lot of money. And why you're doing a cold email, you are also missing out other opportunities because you have invested your marketing dollar into cold email. There would be other opportunities, perhaps based on your business and the sector type, into social media, or actually go and visit an event like a paid event where you find the right target audience. So that is the thing. On an average, I think people are receiving about 15 to 18 unsolicited emails these days, you and me included, and that is creating a lot of unwanted noise. So even if there is an email that comes in through that channel of cold email to me, which is relevant to me and I would probably open, it's because so much of cold emails are being hit, or our IDs are being hit with, you kind of have a very negative perception about that thing. And I think one of the common mistakes over the past few years that I have seen happening repeatedly is it is the same type of email. I think there's one very smart, probably a blog which said that, oh, write the name of the company onto the subject line and you will have a better open rate. So everybody started copying that. Oh, write the email very short, very personalized, no graphics, no attachments. Great. Everybody started copying that. So every kind of email, cold email that we're getting, it's just copy paste thing from the past. So you are really not, it kind of leaves a bad taste, really. And then you also have sometimes very long copy, which is all about they themselves, the company talking about themselves. It is not talking to me or the recipient as a potential customer. The challenges that the potential customer may have, or the kind of things that the person may want to be interested or want to understand more about. So it's not educational, it is more about sell, sell, sell. So I feel, Ankita, I would not recommend any small business to waste money and use cold email as their marketing strategy. What do you think?
So you added a lot of points, and while I agree with everything you said, I think these are symptoms
Mhm.
pointing to a problem, and I'll arrive at that. Tell you why I'm saying that. I'm not against cold email, but I'm against cold email the way we have adopted it today. Right. So for new businesses, let's just go back and say why I say cold email is still viable. Couple of points here are, if you look at a new business, we were talking about a business that's just coming up, or you said the example of new business of an established company going into a new market or putting out a new product or a service line. For them, cold outreach is a channel to go and very in a very targeted fashion, in a very controlled fashion, reach out to prospects and establish contact, start the building of a relationship. um what are the other ways they have? Like you said, yes, you can do events, but there's no guarantee that the right person is going to come out the events. And there are so many different people at events. Your prospects, your right target could be there, but you could just miss connecting with them. Ads turn out to be very expensive. Ultimately, with ads, I also feel that you are at the mercy of the algorithms, and the platforms just want you to spend more and more. Email as a channel still is a channel where the business has a little bit more control. They are still able to manage things without, even be it cost, be it process. You're not at the mercy of a third party completely. So these are options which I feel make cold email viable for a small business. However, um, the way to do it is the channel, is the problem. What
Hmm.
you mentioned right now, somebody says, let's add the name. Yes, and that somebody probably did it, I don't know, 10 years back or 15 years back, when it was unheard of, and there was a wow factor that, oh wow, this is possible now. And today it's no longer a wow factor. Unsolicited email is spammy, it's a problem, um, because you just get a lot of them. You get a lot of irrelevant messaging. You get, which means they haven't checked correctly about they haven't checked correctly if you're the right target audience. So, the way people do cold email, just purchase a list or just scrape a list
Hmm.
um, using a tool, and let's just send thousands of messages, cast a wide net, and you will catch some fish. That's an incorrect, inefficient approach of doing that. In fact, beginning this year in 2024, there were a lot of um, changes and rules put out by Google, which have impacted deliverability in a way that this kind of cold emailing has become unviable. But I still feel that when you do a very targeted study, when it is well researched, your there are certain steps to it. So you do precision targeting, you understand the whole strategy. Treat cold email not like a silver bullet, low hanging fruit, but really get into it. Have your qualification criteria developed. Understand what messaging you're going to do, how you're going to test the messaging, how you're going to bring the responses back and continuously keep improving. How do you achieve the balance between establishing contact, creating trust, giving them something first, and then, so it cannot be me, hey, I'm this great person, I've helped five different brands, and just throw these top brand names and I've helped them get customers, and I can do the same for you. That kind of cold emailing, templatized, generic, bashful, doesn't work. So my thing is that it works, but the how needs to change. It doesn't work the way it used to 10 years back. It doesn't work the way it used to 20 years back. And just shooting emails in the dark is not the answer.
Yes, I think what you said makes absolute sense to me now in sense of shooting in the dark. I think what is missed in this entire exchange of a company wanting to reach out to new target audience and wanting to gather leads, generate leads. It's just the whole part of the speed. They want everything at speed, but in cold email, which was circa 2012, 2010, that time it was okay because everybody was new to email was the only option really. Social media was just coming up, and now it is much more advanced. We also have social media, we also have other means of communication, WhatsApp, Slack, other channels. So it definitely makes sense that you can't just shoot in the dark. You can't send something and wait for some magic to happen. Yeah, a case in point I would want to just relevant to this context is when a customer, and okay, so the other thing that is happening is that there are a lot of providers who would say that we will help you get um, more leads. Yeah, and just a case in point, because we said that when people start, or when small businesses are especially caught in the trap of looking at new leads and doing the cold email, is when they are wanting to move into a new line of business. And the same thing happened in my conversation with a peer of mine when we were trying to understand where things went wrong in this particular service provider. This is an established service provider, quite a well-known brand. They were launching into a new line of business, and they hired uh, a marketing plan. They didn't hire a marketing plan, but they made a marketing plan thinking of uh, using cold email as one of their strategies to reach out to these target audience. um, 1 month went by, 2 months went by, 2 months, 3 months, and zero. Like nothing came back. And it
Yeah.
is like a service provider. And Ankita, to just reflect back on this example with what you said, what would have this a service provider done right to be able to then reach out to this new set of target audience that they're looking at.
So first of all, who was doing their cold email? Did they do it in-house or did they outsource it?
So while they had this marketing team in house, they were not the ones who were doing the email campaign. The emails, because they didn't have the database, so they had to rely on a vendor who promised them a success based fee. So if they only get the client meetings done, they will charge them a fee. So that was the, I think, bait. And the service provider was like, "Oh, that sounds so exciting! I don't have to pay anything upfront. I just want to get the meetings, and then if I am saying yes to the vendor that this was the right target audience, I'm going to pay based on every conversion that took place."
So in my opinion, that's an immediate red flag. If you are a
Mm.
small business, a freelancer, you're looking at doing cold email. Anybody who says, don't pay me anything upfront, I'm just going to take success-based fee. What does it mean? If you just peel a layer back, the vendor is also a business. So
Mm.
they have a very nice process fit. They have the infrastructure platform, they have people, so they've gotten the process
More.
platform people bit absolutely correct. They have it set up, and they are using it repeatably, so they have the infrastructure. Sometimes there is an upfront investment in the infrastructure for these vendors, right? So they have to get clients to get that money back, or just make anything to make their business operation run. So they promise success based fee, and what they're doing is they have templatized emails, they have templatized campaigns. They're just going to do a plug and play. So the kind of effort that goes into it is very minimum.
Minimal.
They're going to
That's right.
have right, so they're going to have one or two discovery calls with you, just get a high level understanding of your offering, ask you to give them the USPs. In our database, these are the filters my tool has, so give me demographics, give me job titles you want, give me levels, CXO level, mid tier, management, or so on these bases they will start running the campaign. And again, the idea is cast a wide net, catch a few fish. uh,
Yes.
right, so that's what they were doing, right? And this is the kind of cold emailing that is failing today. um
Mm.
so tell me, since you guys did a deep dive into figuring out why this particular company didn't see success with their cold emailing strategy, did prior to starting cold email, did they do a workshop with the vendor, get really deep into issues, get really deep into the pain points of the prospects, get really clear on the ICP definition beyond job titles and demographics?
Yeah.
And did they define a qualification criteria?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why? Yes and no. So yes, they did the demographics. Yes, they did the qualification criteria. But no, they did not talk about the psychographics of the person, the challenges this person faces, or the kind of KPIs this person has, or the needs of this person. Because now they are a service-based business where they are trying. It's a B2B setup where they're trying to get this person to buy services from them, and the person is a decision maker. So obviously, the person is going to look at different things that this service provider has done if they want to go ahead. It's not that they didn't get open rates. They did get open rates because it was a known brand, but it did not convert at all, because I think you're very rightly saying that they forgot to do a good customer profile. And no, I don't think there was any workshop or anything done, because what the vendor comes in with is the proven strategies or the proven results that they have got for similar types of businesses. And while I think there is no verification done, like you don't get to speak to their previous customers, it is just that the setup looks so exciting and so modern that you feel that, okay, I can't, if I have to invest this in my company, in my little small business, it's going to take a big amount of money and I don't have the budget. So this is a easier option that people choose. And I think Repeatedly, I have seen everybody failing at this. But what you are saying is if you have a methodical approach, then it works.
Yes, I completely say that you need a methodical approach. You need to, like I said, precision targeting, the messaging needs to be different, outsourcing. And, if I put myself in the shoes of a small business owner taking this decision, I can understand because ads are expensive, like I said. Organic takes a lot of time, and there is pressure on the business to get new customers, start getting
Absolutely.
business, start getting some revenue in. And here's somebody who can help me. They're promising the sun and the moon and the stars. Maybe they'll even color the moon pink for you if you want for an extra price. uh, and they have compelling case studies. It's worked in the
Yeah.
past for people, yes, but the failure point here is that is what you're selling and who you're selling it to.
Hmm.
If you're selling SEO services, which practically every business needs, right? It's a little easier, I would say. Then the question becomes why you. So you can say that we have case studies, we have this, and we have this much percentage. If you're doing, if you're selling paid ads, again it's easier because it's very easy to churn out of your existing service provider and get to them. But the moment it gets a little niche, the moment there's more convincing to be done, that's where it starts feeling. Because if you're trying to do demand generation for a newish category, for a new product service, which
Hmm.
uh, people don't know that something like this exists. People don't know what they don't know, right?
Right.
Um, and you've got to build that relationship. You've got to build a little bit of trust. You cannot overwhelm them at one go.
That's right.
um, right? So it has to be a process, which means it needs to be customized to your businesses. It needs to be tailored, and the timing has to be right. I'll give you an example. You're selling something which the head of marketing will consume, so they need to be taking the decision. At this point, quarter three, quarter four is when a lot of large organizations they do their AOP, annual operating plan and budget planning, etc. So at this time, if you reach out to them as a potential vendor for something that they already have, they'll take you into consideration. They might, some of your message might stick and they might consider you. But if they are you reach out to them in April, when they've already signed the contract, locked the contracts for the current year, the service providers have been done, the budget allocation has happened. So that's a really wrong timing to reach out and say, I sell so and so services. Unless they have, now if they don't have a pain which needs to be solved, they will not consider an addition because the budgets are already allocated, all locked in. They've done this, you know, 6 months exercise where things have planned, everything is done. They're not going to revisit it. So, timing is important. Who you're reaching out to. So the market knowledge is important, which will come with research, which will come with talking to people, which will come with the business owner or the internal team's intelligence transferring to the vendor who's actually going to operate. They have a great setup, they have a tech setup, they have processes, they have people to run it. That's an excellent use case for outsourcing. But you cannot outsource with a document that says, this is my business, this is what I do, now go get me customers.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is, it is not plug and play. Yeah, it is not a thing that one size fits all. Also, this is the second point where it's not for your, if they're showing a similar business, a B2B service provider, it may not have the same variables that you are playing with. Yeah. Yeah, it is
Absolutely.
not plug and play. It is not one size fits all. If in the world of cold email, if you're outsourcing to a vendor, you need to have all your parts very clear. So obviously the type of the audience, ICP, what the messaging has to be, who the target audience is, how we are going to approach. Because I think one of the biggest things that we've always heard is when the cold email comes in, it's so spammy and they don't leave you at that. There is just repeated follow-ups that they do, and it is just annoying. So so that's why I always feel with the thing that cold email doesn't work. But what you're saying does make sense, that if you are aware of these variables, and if it is still something that you want to take on as a business, to understand and leverage on somebody else's strength, which is the technology, which is the platform, which is the access to the market, then yes, go for it. But in when you are constrained for resources, constrained for time, and with a limited budget, it's only that far. I think there are other 2 points that are coming to my mind just as we speak, and with the kind of questions that we are getting. Guys, thank you for sending these beautiful questions. We'll just come back to it. The other two things is the timing. I feel most of the times, even in this service provider case study that we were talking about, is that they had the vision for 3 months. They said, oh, let's try this cold emailing for 3 months because it's our season time, just as what you said, right? Like the annual plans were being made, and their target audience were decision makers who were placing the budgets. So they were looking at the timing. But I find typically that emailing as a marketing strategy is also long term. You cannot
Yes.
expect 3 months worth of bombardment and then having no follow up, no back end thought process. The process is clear. Again, from MOP's perspective, if you're sending, leveraging a vendor tech for technology to send out email, there has to be something in house to kind of capture those leads, get what happens after the lead comes, like the thought process after the lead comes in. Yeah, that is one. And I think, Ankita, we speak about this in our conversation, and you talk a lot about this, is personalization. How you see personalization is actually being missed in so many good campaigns, and how it has become like a game changer for companies. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I want to talk about both your points. So to the first point, right? Um, Simply following up and saying, "Did you see my last email? Did you see my last email? Have you had a chance to see?" Please do not follow up like that. If your marketing campaigns are following, just stop, stop, stop. It's better to not send a follow up than this email because the person doesn't know what you're talking about. Like, who are you following up with them?
Right.
Sometimes the emails are not even threaded, so you don't know who this person is. What have they written? They're just busy. Did you get a chance to see my last email? What last email? You really think I'm going to go search for your name in my inbox, find out, read? No, it's not going to happen. Even when you're doing email campaigns, and there is a use case for doing cold emailing in house because you get a lot of wealth of information.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of A/B tests, and your internal teams can learn a lot. Your sales and marketing teams can learn a lot too, know what kind of language people are responding to, what kind of problems they are responding with. Because sometimes they would just say, no, we have another vendor. No, we do this in house. Even that kind of information is valuable information to know for the internal teams, which completely gets missed out in outsourcing. So, when you're having those conversations with your outsourcing partners, this is the information that you should try and get from them. But coming back, it takes more than 5 touches for somebody to have that recall and respond to you. In my personal opinion, it takes 5 to 10 touches, meaningful
And not
touches.
all those 5 and 10 touches are on the email, mind you.
Yes, not all of them are on email. So cold outreach
Yeah.
can very well be a multi-channel thing where you are, maybe using LinkedIn as a cold outreach platform. If nothing else, just use email and LinkedIn. So there are two places, but also these touches are where you are providing value,
Mhm.
where you are giving them something in return. So even while they read your email, it's a cold outreach, but there is something of value for them. Maybe a statistic that they wouldn't know, maybe an industry thing that they wouldn't know, something which makes it stick. And then you get to the point, right? And get to the point quickly. Don't go on and on about who you are, but how it relates. Again, I keep going back to whether you solve a pain point, whether you fulfill a need or a desire, that needs to come across very, very clearly, very, very quickly. And that will
True.
help you segment people, segment them on the basis of the pain point. See if they're reacting to this pain point. In cold email, okay, this is not the one. Okay, let's send them this. And when
That's
you're
where
doing
A/B testing comes in, right? Yeah.
that's where A/B testing comes in. And in cold emailing, also, you can apply some email marketing principles where you say, okay, we've been cold emailing this list of people. Now, these are people who've opened emails. Let me send messages just to them and see what happens. Rather than, just mass sending it out to everybody. So you can actually play around and make it better. Personalization, yes, I think it's something that I speak a lot about. I discuss a lot about every marketing forum conversation. Somewhere personalization comes in my conversations. And I always say this, please do not personalize for the sake of personalization.
Yes. Surbi, have you received my past email? That is not personalization.
Absolutely not personalization. Surbi, as the founder of Digital Genie, you must be looking to do more events.
Oh
That is
no.
also not a personalization, right?
Um,
um, when you're personalizing, personalize on the basis of their jobs that the person needs to do, personalize on the basis of their pain points, personalize on how you can make them more productive, how you can make them happier, how you can improve something about them. So think every time, think from customers point of view. So segment like that, see where they're reacting to. That's the personalization that you should do. Also today, with the amount of data available on the internet, it's possible to research people and what they're saying in their public personas.
yeah.
What is the company doing? What stance is the company taking? What are the events happening in the world which give you a trigger to reach out to somebody? So this information is available. And good old days, where the sales would be doing this cold outreach,
Yes.
they'd be asking people to make referrals, and they would, then do the connects. They would go and meet people. They would do a lot of reading and researching. I think we're going back to that today. AI has made it possible to do it at scale. There are tools available. There are people in the industry that I have spoken to who are doing this at scale.
Hmm.
And it's possible to do personalization at scale. It's possible to become relevant at scale. Again, we're not talking about millions of emails. But
And we're
with
not even talking about large organization. This is for very relevant to the small organizations.
very relevant to small organization, because you are doing precision targeting.
Hmm.
You are defining a very specific set of people. You're finding that set of people. You're fine tuning your message which is relevant to these people, and using cold email or cold outreach as a means to establish contact. And let's take that into a conversation in B2B, or give them some more information and drive them to a purchase decision when you're using B2C or D2C. So I think that's important. At the back of your first email, you're not going to get a meeting. You will get it if that person has a need, and I would say that's a draw of luck. There has to be multiple touches, multiple relevant touches at the top of all this. So you look at cold email as a strategic piece, not a silver bullet that I've just given it to somebody. They'll run it for me, and I'm going to get my 8 leads in a month.
Yeah, it's not magic. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not much.
Absolutely. So we agree to disagree, but we agree on this point that cold email, as cold as it sounds, the frigidness of it is something that you should not go for it if you have these criterias or these facts with you, which is like you're a small business, you have limited resource, you wanted the leads yesterday. Do not do cold emails. There are umpteen number of other ways to get out in the market and introduce yourself and organically build your list. But yes, it works for some. It works for large organizations as well as small organization. And there is a method to this madness, as Ankita has very beautifully captured in this argument of ours. But I think we are really over time and we should go back to the questions. Ricardo, thank you so much for being such a live participant on this talk today. So is cold email akin to reverse marketing, was your first question. Ankita,
Actually, it's not. It's not, right? It's the exact opposite of reverse
opposite.
marketing.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking the same. Yes.
So cold email is when you're reaching out to people who don't know about you and you're talking about your business. But reverse marketing is when you're attracting people looking for you. When people come to you, it's a push and pull.
Yeah, I was just
thing.
saying, just think of it as a push and pull. You're pushing out your messages is cold email, and when you're attracting people to automatically come and interact with your marketing assets is reverse marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then
the next question, I
very
think,
interesting question Ricardo asked, about, if a company has limited budget, then do you think cold marketing would be ideal, or is it a blanket no across the marketing landscape? So, at the back of this discussion, Surbi, what do you want to tell him?
well, it's not a blanket no, but you, as I was saying earlier, you need to have these criterias. I think it is very good to have, you know, get it's not a silver bullet. So if you are at the stage of your marketing life cycle where you need a silver bullet, there are other things that you may need to do. And I think there is no tactic in marketing which is a silver bullet, really, because the landscape is very dynamic now. The customers are very aware, very knowledgeable. There's a lot of content out there where they can assess you differently. So I think it's not a blanket no, but definitely do not just get into this unaware. Do not do the same mistakes which people have. And I think when I say do not, is like, be very aware of the fact that you don't have the resources, you don't have personalization strategy, you don't know your ICP, psychographics. Like, there are just so many variables here that you need to sort first internally and then ask the right questions to your vendor. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is, while they have all this, they know, oh, I know my business, I know my service, but they miss asking the right questions, and they miss planning what after they get the leads, once they get in there. So they don't have like a strategy after they have gotten meetings and appointments, and then it just flattens out. So then the ROI is not measured. It's a lose lose, basically.
I agree. In fact, I was going to say that it's a sales and marketing play, cold
Yeah,
outreach.
yeah.
Um,
Together,
and
it has to be tight. It cannot be like one person only marketing driving it. Yeah,
it
absolutely.
has to be, it cannot be a marketing play. And like you rightly said, leads get dropped off. So even if you have a great vendor, you've said everything correctly. If you just step back and think from a business perspective, ultimately ROI will come in when there's revenue realization. So business has to close. Just cold leads coming in doesn't help. So sales has to approach them slightly differently, because remembering that these are cold, they have to be prompt, they also have to be persistent. Sometimes marketing campaigns get cold results where people will be like, okay, yeah, we'll meet you, can you meet this in this time? And maybe sales is not able to meet at that time, or maybe that interaction hasn't happened. And sometimes sales then just say, okay, they're not interested, right? But there, with persistence, you can get there. So the it doesn't end there. There is still a long journey to go, specifically in B2B, to close the business. And that's why I say it's both, um, sales and marketing. And
Right. And one more thing, if I can just bring the audience back to our episode 3, where we spoke about the tech stack essentials, where small businesses often miss out on having those technological tools internally to then access. Because what happens, just as in Ankita's example, where she said that a marketer may get the lead, it is really warm, but the sales doesn't pick it up. What happens then? Where does this lead go? It needs to sit in the tech in your tech stack to be able to then warm it, nurture it even further. So it kind of, you cannot just let it go from there and there is no contact. So that's where marketing operations comes so important when you're doing cold email as well.
absolutely. And then Rajaram asked us, can a relevant subject line make a difference? Absolutely. Relevant subject lines have to be relevant. And like Surpi was saying, personalized too, and personalized with context. In fact, there was a
Context. Yes,
with context.
please do not miss out the context.
In fact, there was a study by a marketing agency early in 2024, I think around February, where they found that personalizing personalizing subject lines gave their campaigns a 50% boost in the open rate,
Mhm.
uh, which is huge, right? And that case study does talk about personalization like this, where you're personalizing to not to their name, but their actual need or something that they have done. So having a proper trigger. If the subject line is irrelevant, doesn't matter how good your email is, people will just not open it. So it is one of the most important, criteria, really. Yeah.
Right, right.
So
Hope
there
that
was,
answers your question. Then there was
yes.
the next one. I think again, Ricardo is asking analytics.
Yes, I was. So, yes, analytics plays a big point, absolutely. But then I would warn against vanity metrics. Open rate is a good indicator of whether things are working or not. But if you stop at open rate, it doesn't help. That's
Right.
a vanity metric. Um,
So I would say click-through rates are more important because and that is where you need to ask the right questions to the vendor when you're sending the emails. It's not only about the A/B testing of subject line or A/B testing of the email content. It is actually the testing of the call to action button. There has to be a call to action button into the email so that you know that the person has read the email and taken action, even if it means to access a little piece of educational snippet that you're giving in the first outreach. In the second outreach, maybe you are telling them about the case study or something like that. So it has to have some analytics behind it to see the click through rate.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're doing text only emails, then response rate is something that you should definitely look at. Analyze qualitatively as well.
Mhm.
Look at, within your segmentation, how your different segments are reacting to that subject line. How are they reacting to the theme of the email, the problem statement that you're talking about, whether there's a certain type of certain tone that they're reacting to, reacting or not reacting, both ways, right? So there's a lot of qualitative input also that you can get with analytics, which
Yeah.
requires this deep dive into data from the vendor or your internal team who's doing cold email. Getting, so the platforms you choose have to be able to give you that right data. The vendor you choose has to be willing to share that data with you, even if they're not sharing the database as such. The people, because people are scared, they keep the database is precious, they've invested in it. But just getting those insights is important for you as a business. So who has actually opened the email, who has seen and not opened, who's been opening consistently but not replied back or not
Correct.
clicked, right?
Yeah.
These are equally important insights into deciding your next steps and how to hone your campaign, and make it better.
Yes. The next question is from Ganpati. Hello, Ganpati. Will reaching out to people for a job subcontract on platforms like LinkedIn similar to cold emails? What is the success rate and is the right way to personal branding? Is it for this? I think this question is asked from job seeker perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
It is a
it's
cold. Yes.
absolutely fully outreach, right?
Yes, it is, and that is where again it is the same. I think criterias and method applies. Here, you may not get a lot more analytics. Here, you are not outsourcing to the vendor. You are very much in your control of reaching out to people. But remember, the person on the other end is also receiving a lot of such emails. So you got to really outsmart the competition in a way to stand out, and maybe you can just ask of from their experience, what do you think the job seeker should do at this point, or like an advice. I think generally on LinkedIn people are very willing to help each other out or connect as such. But if you're asking them to if you've seen that they have advertised for a job and you are directly asking them for a job, they don't know you. Just because
Yeah,
it's linked, they're not going to entertain you to just put you through to the application.
absolutely.
So
And I would want to just add on to what Surbhi said, right? Help, you need to help them help you. Um, if you just send hi as a, I mean, what are you expecting the person to say? And there are a lot of people who do outreach because they're hesitant, right? I'll send a message. If they respond, I'll ask them the next question.
that's not how
But
you think. You have just that one window to nail it. So
correct. So, in that one window, like Surbhi said, you have to introduce yourself. You have to give a hook. You have to capture their interest, and you have to tell them exactly how they can help you. Yes, people are willing, professional, if they don't need to stick their neck out, people are just willing to help. Sometimes people are willing to make connections on LinkedIn. People are willing to give advice. But remember that these are all working professionals, or people doing their own thing, having their own life, having their own, their job is not to help you. If you are reaching out to help, have your expectations right. Give the right amount of information. Don't send them 1000 page, 1000 word essay to read.
Right.
So the way you do cold outreach on LinkedIn, specifically from a subcontracting or a job seeking perspective, is very different. But that is not the way to build a personal brand. A personal brand is built out when you talk about your expertise, your skills, your personality, and have that put out for the world to see. And
Yes.
that's the meaning of a personal brand. In fact, this peer of mine, I respect him a lot. He runs amazing workshops on LinkedIn personal branding, and how to use it, how to do it at scale, how to automate it for freelancers, small business owners, busy professionals whose core job is not to do content writing. And think from it from that perspective, like how do you do. There's lots to learn, so find people like these, the real gurus who teach you what to do and how to
Yeah.
do. You can figure out how to do. And once you've had this kind of a personal brand built up, then people will come to you. So reverse marketing.
Exactly. I was waiting for you to say this, and you said it. The reverse marketing, as Ricardo said, that it is more of a pull strategy than a push strategy.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that brings us end to the questions. Any more questions? Thank you guys for asking such lovely questions. And if you have any more questions, we are obviously very accessible on LinkedIn. Reach out, let us know. Yes.
Uh, we also have a marketing engineer page. Guys, you can follow the page. You can ask questions on that page.
Yes.
You can watch replays of all the previous episodes there. They should be visible. And, cold emails, just coming back to what we were talking about today. There is a specific use case for cold email. It needs to be approached with caution. It's not a silver bullet, needs a strategy, needs in-house alignment, needs very, very deep understanding of the market, of the customer, and then you can do cold email, and it'll give you ROI if it's done at scale. And today there are tools available which will, with the help of AI, you can actually do personalization, you can actually do cold outreach at scale.
That's right.
Which brings us to the topic for next time. The buzzword. Still the buzzword. I know it's been so long, but it's still the buzzword. Everybody wants a piece of it. AI. We would be talking about AI from a moth's perspective. So do join us next week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. GST, 2:30 p.m. IST, for a conversation on AI and marketing operations. I look forward to having you guys there.
Yes. Look forward. Thank you all for joining today. Thank you. Bye.